The Carspring Somersault, Flying One-Handed Flip-Flop by SuAnn Kaiser.
You're just kidding me around.
Wilma Letitia Carper liked doing boy things so much more than she liked doing girl things that everyone called her Willie, and that was just fine with her. Willie lived way out in the country on a farm with her mama and papa and 11 brothers and sisters, and that was just fine with Willie too. One day, Willie did something truly amazing, but nobody paid any attention to her, and that was not fine with Willie. It was a Saturday afternoon in early autumn, and everyone was in the south pasture taking a break from work. Everyone, that is, except Willie. Willie was in a far-off corner, working hard, practicing something new that only she could do, and even she couldn't do it yet. By and by, everyone else wandered off to finish their chores. But Willie didn't notice. She practiced and practiced, and then she practiced some more. And suddenly, sproing, whoop, whoosh,
Boy!
boing, whip, whip. She did it! It's the world's first ever Carspring Somersault Flying One-Handed Flip-Flop. It was the most amazing thing Willie had ever done, if she did think so herself. And she did. "Look what I can do," yelled Willie. But there was no one to look around. Lickety-split, Willie ran to the house. Thelma and Isla were baking bread, and Alfie was feeding the babies. "Watch me do my Carspring Somersault Flying One-Handed Flip-Flop," said Willie. "Just as soon as we're done," said Thelma, "which would be a lot sooner if you were here to help." Willie fed Gerald and Kenneth a few bites of mashed potato, but she was too excited to stay, so when no one was looking, Willie sneaked out the back door. Lena, Phyllis, and Lily were in the backyard helping Mama hang clothes on the line. "Watch me do my Carspring Somersault Flying One-Handed Flip-Flop," said Willie. "We're too busy right now," said Mama. "Why don't you pitch in?" Willie hung 3 socks and a washcloth, and then she dodged behind a sheet and sprinted down to the barn. Emery, Violet, and Fred were helping Papa tend the livestock. "Watch me do my Carspring Somersault Flying One-Handed Flip-Flop," said Willie. "We don't have time," said Papa, "but we could use another hand." Willie fed Beauty a handful of hay. Beauty, "Nobody in this family pays any attention to me," she muttered. "It would serve them right if they never got to see my Carspring Somersault Flying One-Handed Flip-Flop. I'll just run away and show someone else." And off she went, lickety-split. Willie ran down to the road to Grandpa's house, but he and his old cat Jezebel were napping on the porch, and Willie didn't want to disturb them. Oh, look at him, he's asleep.
Grandpa.
She trotted to her teacher's house, but Miss James would grade in papers and told her to come back the next day. She walked all the way to her best friend's house, but Elaine's mother said Elaine was over at the Hackensacks farm helping out with the new twins. Willie turned around and headed back home. "There's no point in running away to show someone my Carspring Somersault Flying One-Handed Flip-Flop if there's no one else to show," she grumbled. Willie arrived home just as Mama rang the dinner bell. During the fried chicken and biscuits and gravy and the corn on the cob, no one said a word to Willie. They were even quieter during the bread pudding. Finally, Willie couldn't stand it 1 second longer. "I bet if I ran away, none of you would even know I was gone," she said. Papa put down his spoon. "You would lose that bet, Willie," he said.
"Bet, Willie."
"If you ran away, every single one of us would know," said Mama. "I would be the first to notice," said Thelma. "Where's Willie?" I would ask everyone, and everyone would say, "She was right here a minute ago." So we would all run around calling, "Willie! Oh, Willie!" said Phyllis. "Soon both babies would start yowling," said Alfie. "And old Watch, he would start howling," said Emery. "Which would scare Beauty halfway out of her hide and all the way out of the barn," said Lily. "And all the other critters would get excited and chase after Beauty across the garden and through the clothesline," said Fred. "And right into the parlor," said Lena, "where they would kick up a fearsome mess," said Isla. And after all that was said and done, we would decide that since you caused the whole mess by running away, you should be the one to clean it up, said Violet. Right after you showed us your cat spring somersault flying one-handed flip-flop, that is, said Papa. Why, that's the silliest story I've ever heard, said Willie. But for once, she had the attention of the whole family. So, lickety-split, up she jumped and... Spring, whoop, whoosh, boing, whip, whip! She did the world's best ever cat spring somersault, flying one-handed flip-flop right then and there in the dining room.
Everyone clapped.
Everyone clapped and cheered. Now, Willie, said Mama, you must never think of running away
Ever again.
ever again.
That sounds like Willie.
And that was just fine with Willie.